Why does digital identity matter in the year 2020 and beyond? When we think about something as important as digital identity, it's really good to start with a construct that we all understand. Throughout the ages, tribes, clans, and villagers used face-to-face verification to identify one another, allowing people to vouch for a person directly using visual referrals. As time went on, respected people and people of importance, as well as royalty, used writing and wax seals to provide verification of a person's identity, and eventually governments created frameworks for its citizens by producing identity papers, passports, driver's licenses, and the likes. And as technology evolved, they powered the framework to create, manage, and control identities issued by central governments. Since the early days of the internet, we've not really given much thought to providing who we are, but in the real world, it's how we create our value for ourselves. As the internet and online engagement grows, together with today's macro environment where more and more people are spending time online, we're faced with the need that to continue to grow our personal online value, we're going to need to verify and manage our digital identity. So how do we do that? If you ask the average person who's glued to their devices for up to 7 hours a day or even more, they want simplicity, and that's where we start the conversation. Most of the time, I don't really think about it and take for granted that when I arrive at home or go to my car, I generally have to unlock these assets using a key, fob, or even biometrics to gain access. I also keep my bank card, driver's license, and other identity documents and some other personal items that I need in my everyday life in my wallet. Using these items to safeguard my identity and valuables are learned responses that keep me responsible and in charge of how and when they are used. However, at the same time, we're making sure our privacy and valuables are safe in our day-to-day real life. It seems that we've taken a less diligent attitude towards what we're doing in our digital life. Since the inception of the internet, we've all generally believed that we can go about our online lives on an anonymous basis, but with more and more content, services, and opportunities available online and our adoption and reliance on the digital environment, we need to get past the fairy tale that we can do what we want online without any care for our personal privacy and safety. Today, it's really easy for businesses, social media companies, content and service providers to create a user's persona online rapidly that's highly accurate through data acquisition, insights, and modeling. They can tell what we want, when we want it, and in some cases, what we pay or do to get something. For most of us, we really don't pay any mind to it. We become accustomed to act like sheep, and these organizations are our shepherds. To follow how we got here, we have to go back to the year I was born, 1962. When J.C.R. Clicker, an MIT scientist, proposed a Cold War solution for a galactic network of computers that could talk to one another even if the Soviet Union destroyed the telephone system. By 1969, with the U.S. Department of Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, or ARPANET, in place, the government agency delivered its first message on a node-to-node communication from one computer to another. By the early 90s, the internet became a public vehicle, and by the late 90s, Philip Rosedale launched Linden Labs, which in 2003 introduced Second Life, the first viable commercial virtual reality homeworld, and by 2015, the GDP of Second Life was over $500 million. That's greater than some countries. Shopping online, which we all take for granted today, was a struggle in the late 90s, especially in Canada, as the Canadian banking networks were slower than our US cousins to adopt online payment solutions. It wasn't until late 1998 when a product called CPAC came to the Canadian marketplace that online shopping was a reality. Shopping online was the first example of a soft way to prove yourself online, as you had to verify the information, not validate the user or the credentials to make an online purchase. As the internet grew exponentially, digital identity remained at the forefront of thought leaders like David Birch and Don Tapscott for many years. In 2008, David Birch released a paper titled Psychic ID, A Blueprint for National Identity Scheme. And David's writings, while over a dozen years old, were, in my humble opinion, a telling prediction of what was to become the future of digital identity, as it seems rather archaic with all the technology and centralized data that we can't easily tell what age you are just by your biometrics or mobile device. With the advent of faster processing, cloud computing, and connected networks, and even the blockchain, the ability to verify and validate data has become increasingly easier and highly profitable. Many of those who understood the value of data were able, much to the detriment of users, to create highly scalable and profitable businesses by arguably trading low-cost computing cycles that powered accessibility, connectivity, and content for a user's most prized assets, their data. At the heart of all this is one simple truth. We are all perpetual data generators. Whether we like it or not, everywhere we go, everything we do, and all our online actions generate data. And data is highly valuable, more valuable than gold. It's easy to create, store, manipulate, and glean insights, and it can be your best friend or your worst nightmare. There's also data's good friend behavior that, along with data, can be used to create actions, and those actions can generate value. And for some, it's a highly intoxicating proposition because we totally dismiss the responsible actions that we perform every day in the real world in favor of questionable online behavior. For most of us, we would think it would be unconscionable in the real world to let a young teenager into a casino and sit at a table and place a bet, or to provide unfettered access to adult content. But in the digital world, this can go unnoticed, as some of the internet's largest user groups are barely old enough to drive a car. Even as adults, we wouldn't walk into a retail store, go shopping, and then when we got to the cash register, ring up the order, and when asked for payment, say, "I don't have my card available to show you, but I know the information. Can I just give you that?" Do you think you'd leave the store with the order? So how do we move forward and create a balanced approach to digital identity and data management that is consumer owned and controlled and allows businesses and other organizations, whether it's government, healthcare, financial services, e-commerce, education, and others, to effectively interact with this paradigm shift and stay within the goalpost of regulations? As we move beyond 2020, in my opinion, the easiest way to think about digital identity and data is not to reinvent the wheel, but to take the use case of the real world and duplicate it in the virtual world. Coming back to the idea of a wallet and keyring that I described earlier, we believe that this methodology embraces the requirements of a user and supports a number of ecosystems that are creating digital credentials, blockchain application, payment wallets, and other technologies that provide inclusivity and collaboration. Foundationally, we see sustainable ecosystems being created by focusing on 4 essential partners to create value. Examiners. These are organizations that review supporting documents and validate the individual or organization that is applying for a digital credential. Issuers. These are recognized institutions like governments that can issue a digital credential like a driver's license, passport, permanent residence card, social insurance or security cards, and the likes. Holders. This is you and me, the people who own the information. And verifiers. These are the people that need to verify your digital credentials if you want their services. This could be a bank or school that needs to verify who you are to grant you access to digital services. Most organizations in this sector focus on being an examiner or powering issuers and verifiers, but we believe the value is in the holder or consumer, as the regulatory environment has put more and more control back into the hands of the users. If we take this to the next level and agree that the consumer owns the information, then this leads us to 3 pillars of digital identity and data. Verification. Starting with centralized data and, in the future, artificial intelligence, decentralized information, and other sources, this proves that you are you. Via examination, this is the foundational pillar which starts the digital identity journey. Management. It's important to control your private and public data and to have a strategy and use tools and solutions that put the power of its value under your control. Monetization. Given the portability and value of digital identity and data, users need to demand some type of benefit, value, or profit in trade for its use. The goal is to make creation, management, and control of digital identity and data management easy and seamless and something that we can relate to, so digital wallet and keyring, we believe, is the best approach to this, as it makes it easier to understand and it follows a line of thinking that we are all used to. As we move forward, understanding our own digital identity needs should not be binary. It's not all or nothing, but a cautious, blended approach as our attitudes evolve to meet the ever-changing digital landscape. Yes, in most cases, we've all let the pendulum move far to the point of not caring, and partially because many businesses have combated the idea of identity fraud with a get-out-of-jail-free card. Companies have conditioned us to be part of the problem, allowing us not to care a great deal about our digital identity and data, and in return, if the company has a breach or someone steals our credit card or other data, they forgive the charges and sign us up for free data protection. Again, sheep and shepherd. To make this work, we must take charge of our digital identity and our private and public data. Ownership of ID and data should be a basic human right, and governments are putting in regulations to ensure that consumers have ownership and control over their data. These policies include, but are not limited to, GDPR in Europe, PIPEDA in Canada, CCPA in California, the Consumer Data Rights Act in Australia, and other emerging jurisdictional regulations that are affirming that consumers, not companies, should own, manage, and control a user's data. As these legislations enter and continue to proliferate the marketplace, it's important to be able to understand our rights when it comes to our digital identity and data and how we manage and control it. Let's look at a few questions. How are emerging technologies like blockchain going to affect my digital identity and data today and in the future? Well, you won't be able to put your personally identifiable information or PII on the blockchain, as the blockchain is an immutable record and can't be altered, and therefore data placed on it cannot be removed or forgotten, and thus contravenes most privacy and data regulations. Blockchain technology will be instrumental as the foundation for managing and controlling the data for digital credentials. How can I manage my information and keep it secure? There's really no magic bullet here. We believe that the easiest place to start is by introducing biometrics like facial recognition, voice, fingerprints, retina scans, and other solutions to manage and control access to digital identity and data. This needs to be supported by centralized data like your driver's license and artificial intelligence that can, with high confidence, certify that you are you. By starting with biometrics that are not device-based, we can independently validate a user and then create an ecosystem that further identifies them, making this less susceptible to identity fraud, as there will be hundreds, if not thousands, of digital checkpoints. Keeping your credentials in a digital wallet and keyring that is yours is important, as we believe in cases of emergencies or to support the online activities of minors, that you'll be able to assign an additional trusted person or guardian to help manage your account. How do I manage and control the sharing of my information? By gaining control of your digital identity and data through companies like ours and others that are implementing tools and services at no cost for users to create and manage digital wallets and keyrings, you'll be able to control the sharing and use of your data, as you'll have biometric control over where it is. And finally, how do I create value for my data? We've already talked about legislation that supports that users own their data, and for corporations that abuse these rules, the penalties can be very tangible. So users need to think of their digital identity and associated private and public data as key assets that have tremendous value. And that data needs to be treated as currency for transactions with organizations that want to deal with them. You need to understand the terms in use and how much data currency you're giving up for the transaction. The more data an organization wants, the better the deal should be for the user. So it really comes down to verification management and control, and creating value from your digital identity and associated data. By taking control, you can value transactions and use data as a form of currency in every online transaction today and in the future. We'd like to leave you with some takeaways and thoughts for the future. First one is, you own it. Your digital identity and associated data belongs to you, and you deserve to profit from its use. These are truly valuable assets. You are a data generating machine. Everywhere you go and with everything you do, your digital identity and private and public information creates data, and that is currency to be managed and used both today and in the future. Take control. Make sure that you have the tools necessary as a user to control your digital identity and data, and as an organization to responsibly partner with your customers and constituents to empower them through collaboration. Demand value as a provider of data and deliver value as a consumer of data. And lastly, get ready, player one. The convergence of technologies is coming, and we need to be ready for it. Everything is getting faster and more portable, so it stands to reason that AI, ML, AR, VR, and blockchain will all come together to create new opportunities to create, manage, control, and benefit from digital identity and data. Be ready for today and the future. Thank you for your time today, and please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions or comments. Please enjoy the rest of your FFCON 2020 experience. Thank you.